Hello everyone, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching True Heel Heat podcast.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero. And if you're looking for some true heel heat, you better listen to them boys.
Hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, not on Twitter, for our NJPW G1 Climax 35 final review. Breaking down the big tournament of the summer, the G1 Climax 35, and I'm sure everyone has something to say. So I, of course, am here with the never open weight 6-man tag team champions of doing New Japan Pro Wrestling content. Here, first up, we have, of course, the MC of the past, present, and future of New Japan Pro Wrestling here on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. It is, of course, J News. How are you feeling, J News?
Man, we have a lot to discuss. We have a lot of things to talk about. We have a lot of things to go over. A lot of performance critiques and evaluations to go over during this review, because this G1 stands out as one of those G1s where there was less positive than negative to come out of this. And that's my personal take. Watching New Japan for as long as I have, we haven't dipped into the dark ages as of yet. But I would like to say that currently, as constituted with the roster, this G1 was a damn shame. So I'll leave it at that.
And then we have, of course, she's returned. The one, the only, the most positive New Japan Pro Wrestling fan out there. It is her life. It is Sonal's life. Sonal, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, we have a lot. I don't think I'm as negative as J News. I will say, like, it's on the weaker side. I think probably the weakest G1s I've watched. I think, and I'll discuss this on when I speak about mine. I've had to, and it's a bit like the best of Super Junior. I've like separated the G1 into like booking decisions and then the matches themselves. So actually, I enjoyed quite a lot of matches. I had a long list of really good matches I enjoyed. But then the booking, that's where I'm with J News, that there was less positive. But then and I mentioned this with the best of Super Junior tournament, I'm someone who can enjoy a tournament just by watching the matches as separate entities, which is probably where I'll differ. But yeah, I'm like J News. It was an interesting tournament because I loved them. There were some amazing matches. Some guys really showed up. But then if you look at the whole tournament, let's just say it's probably the most stressful tournament I've watched since becoming a New Japan fan.
There was that nervousness on Sunday, especially watching it live, of they might actually do this. They might actually, and especially with the crowd that they had as well. So yeah, it made it even more, like, I would say, yeah, I agree. The most nervous I've been going into a final match of, please don't be this stupid. I know y'all are stupid.
The thing is, right, you say that, right? And you say, please don't be this stupid. And I can assume all of us are on the same way, because I think we almost mentioned, like, when Takeshita lost the Never title, we were like, oh, well, this might be setting up for it, right?
Yeah.
But people on the internet, I want give me your thoughts, right? So obviously we're here about the G1 final, and Evil didn't win, right? If you guys are full New Japan fans, do you think that rooting for Takeshita to win and being relieved that Evil didn't win makes you a bad fan? Makes you pro AEW, anti New Japan? Please let me know in the comments, because this is a discourse I've been seeing.
I think those people that feel that way, they have a misconception of what happened on Sunday. That crowd wasn't cheering because, oh, Evil is the the New Japan guy against the evil foreigner of Takeshita. They were cheering for Evil to not do the House of Torture BS. Because that's all. That's what they were. That was the essence, and that's what made the atmosphere so great. Because it was really exactly like the crowd.
When, like, Red Narita came out, the boos were back.
Yeah, every time, they were actually getting behind Evil and wanted him to fight fair at the beginning, and got behind him instead of just going for Takeshita. So I don't know if New Japan was planning on that, but that's the atmosphere that you got. And then every time House of Torture got involved, they got booed because they didn't want that.
Yeah, well, because I heard a sentiment of, this is quite common on social media and people I follow, of like, oh, all the crowds were very against Takeshita. But all right, so I rewatched Zack versus Takeshita from the semifinals, right? Because I was like, let me rewatch this, because I was like, low-key stressed about Evil getting through on the semifinal. So it's like, I didn't actually focus on it, right? And then this person was like, oh, if you look, nobody was rooting for Takeshita. It's homegrown talent. They want people loyal to New Japan. But when I watched the Zack match, I didn't hear any Zack Sabre Jr. fan. They were chanting for Takeshita. So to push the narrative, yes, there were some fans who weren't happy with Takeshita winning. But again, there would have been fans who wouldn't have been happy if Evil won. It's pro wrestling. You're never going to be fully satisfied unless Tsuji had won. Then we probably would have all been satisfied. But To say
That was the only choice.
that was the plan. That's what we all had planned, right? But you can't. I think it's also wrong to push this narrative that the Japanese crowds don't like Takeshita, because throughout a lot of the matches, he had a lot of cheers. And if you want to say, oh, but they prefer the loyal New Japan guys, they were cheering over Zack, not only who's been loyal for years, is the champion. So
Yeah.
I don't stick with that. And just to say, guys, if anyone tries to shame you for being happy Takeshita won, don't. You are still a New Japan fan. You are like us. You want what's best for New Japan, and that's Takeshita.
You want good wrestling, not whatever the hell
Not one that
Evil
pulls
does with the
out.
House of Torture.
Not one guy who pulls out his first good match in, I don't know, like 5 years.
He pulled out his one good matchup, and it's
You won't see
only like it has to be like tremendous in the second half to recover from the first half of the
And
match.
Chris was so funny on commentary when this is probably the last time we'll see it for like another 5 years.
It's evil. It's evil. What are you asking for? J News, any feelings on what Sonal had to say or what we're talking about with this final match and the nervousness about going into it?
If I'm being honest, the nervousness aspect of it hit once the show started. Just because, for the one, because Sonal, for those who don't understand or who don't know, your good brother J News is very observant, especially on the social medias. I might not be very call and response with people, but I do have a tendency of reading a lot of your posts and replies and whatever have you. And I must say, the discourse going on about the G1 throughout the tournament, right? Because as I admitted on the semis and the final preview on Friday, I didn't watch the majority of the tournament, right? But the talk of it all, and then watching the last 3 shows before the finals had me worried because it's, obviously they had Evil in the finals, and
Evil top of the block.
Yeah, and he was on the top of the block, and on top of everything else, to pinpoint something that Sonal had said, after the show ended on Saturday, I wasn't sure what was going on with Tsuji. I wasn't sure, but I wouldn't think that New Japan would be dumb enough to put a man out there who was concussed the day after, right? So for all intents and purposes, Tsuji is fine. He wasn't concussed because he was in a multi-man match.
That was I love how there's a lot of New Japan fans that went into immediately conspiracy theory of I think he was hurt. I was like, no, this was but regardless of how he felt, this was the plan. Like,
that's the point I wanted to
get.
Those
people in the ring did a very good job of making me terrified.
Which is great. Which is what professional wrestling
is supposed to be. Even Evil looked shocked. I was
like, they're supposed to make you believe, and they did the job, right?
Evil's a great actor. Can't wrestle, but he's a great actor.
To SP3's point, this was the plan all along. And for all intents and purposes, them planning to have Evil in the finals, to me, after the year that Evil has had, right, so far, made no sense. It just made no sense, right?
I mean, at this point, I'd have preferred Red Narita. I mean, no, because obviously his block were like, there was more people. But do you know what I mean?
But the thing is, and I'm trying to, I pull back and I try to see the macro of it. If they were trying to go good guy versus bad guy, I understand that umbrella of it, right? The heel versus the face proponent of it. But with how New Japan fans react to certain talent, that dynamic doesn't necessarily exist, right? The heel faction is the House of Torture, but you haven't had any of them have good matches in years, literally years. Yeah. And you give us Evil to lead the block and go into the final and feel like, yeah, let's just have these people pissed off. It's okay. We're gonna get you there, and Takeshita's gonna win, right? Like, Takeshita winning wasn't on any of our cards. We all wanted Tsuji to win. Why? And this is why I said that this whole entire tournament was disappointing, and it was a damn shame. They're doing it again with the young guys. They're not feeding them anywhere. Obviously, we had Shooter started off the year in a bad way, right? But Tsuji has had a good year so far, right?
Yeah.
Uemura is looking more and more like the bigger star out of everybody to come up through the freaking ranks in a long time. So he's on the strength and whatnot. And look, they were able to somewhat rehab Shooter through the tournament at the end of the day. So
Shooter, Oyowa.
Yeah, like
Oyowa was one of my MVPs actually of the tournament. I think Oyowa did really well.
We can't even forget about Big Roy. Big Roy's there, man. It's like, what are we doing now? Evil of all people?
I think the problem is, and this is what I was sort of like mentioning, the whole idea of like separating the matches from the storyline is actually, in a sense, there were some parts where the young guys were pushed in the sense of like Tanahashi got beaten. So I know it's a thing of like Tanahashi beat the guys who are quite established already, but then he was beaten by guys like Callum Newman on Oiwa. So that's why I'm saying, if you watch all of the things individually, all of the young guys shone, for me personally. But the problem is that not everyone is like me. Not everyone looks at like each individual match. They'll look at the tournament as a whole. And coming out of that, while they had amazing matches here and there, a lot of people aren't going to care about these individual matches going forward. They're going to care about the whole package, which what Jay News is saying is that by having Evil, you've not completed the package of having it. Yes, you've given this young guy this time to shine, this main event, or you did this really good promo of his main event against Tanahashi. But people are not going to remember that. Well, some people will, like me and like us, who obviously died, but others aren't. And that's where New Japan sort of let the ball go. Is that the phrase?
No, they dropped the ball. They
dropped
the ball. But
not let the ball go, they dropped the ball.
I'll say this as well, and I think this has more to do with the company in general than the talents themselves, the young guys themselves, right? New Japan as the wrestling promotion is supposed to drive the narrative home with the young guys. They didn't. They drove the Evil narrative. They drove the Zack Sabre Jr. narrative. Yet again, me outside looking in, they drove the Takeshita narrative. What happened with the young guys, right? We saw it through individual matches, but New Japan, and I give Walker Stewart and Chris Charlton a lot of credit for what it is that they do. Right, I love those guys, but the company as a whole didn't drive the narrative with the young guys home. So it's like, of course, fans are going to just sit on, well, Evil's in the finals. Let's divide behind this whole Takeshita thing, which I think is a ludicrous freaking discussion to be having at this point. One of the best pound for pound in-ring wrestlers on the planet. You have a problem with winning one of the major wrestling tournaments of the year with? Go fuck off, man. For real. No, seriously, man.
And he signed a contract with y'all. Like, what else do you want?
That's the thing. People putting out the word part-timer. One, I think he's paid more than any other part-timer that has done it. His never reign was great. Two, I was saying he literally he doesn't spend that much time. He has 3 contracts. I want a New Japan guy to win. If you're going with that logic, he is a New Japan guy. I like how they like on commentary, because I think they must have seen the discourse, how they really pushed him. When Takeshita was 6 years old, he wrote a letter to New Japan.
Yes.
Because the world that people are making it seem that Takeshita is some guy who debuted last year, went to AEW within a year of his career, and is in New Japan. Not a guy who today is his 14th, he's starting his 14th year in the industry. Not a guy who didn't get into the New Japan dojo. So then went and worked his way up from DDT, became the top guy in there, then got found by AEW, and then came to the place he's always wanted to go. Takeshita's not some guy who's been given opportunities. No. He's a guy who has worked his ass off to get to New Japan, to do what he's always wanted to do.
Yeah, man. And yet again, to your point, like English commentary did a great job of continuing to talk about that narrative and speak on how long Takeshita's been wrestling, what his wants were his whole entire career, and everything else like that. So the story of Takeshita winning the G1 made sense at the end of the day, but the division between
why Evil,
why it's just and even listening to English commentary, like when Walker Stewart was bringing up Evil's history in New Japan, saying his real name on the air and all that stuff.
Watanabe.
It's like, making a point of making Evil important and relevant, being that he is in the final and he, quote unquote, deserved to be there. This version of Evil that we've been seeing, no. Evil 5 years ago, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So
6
it's
years
like,
ago.
Six,
Definitely.
yeah, Lij Evil, I guess.
yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like they kept on saying it on commentary as well. The clown car show, right? This whole entire gang of guys, the little clown car, and then you see 11 people come out of this little freaking clown car to make a mockery of what pro wrestling is. And the thing about it is that the majority of these guys are actually excellent professional wrestlers. The majority of them. So it's like I just don't where we ended up, right? Like I said, from an objective standpoint, I understood the story construct of it all, but it didn't feel good. And yet again, the narrative with the younger guys in New Japan, man, I feel like what Sonal said, the individual matches great for some of the young guys. How Tanahashi keeps on giving them rubs, fantastic, on his way out. But it's like the narrative isn't being spun their way. It's like we're all at least from what has been being told story-wise, from my perspective, is they keep on taking steps backwards instead of taking steps forward. So what are we going to do with this younger generation, right? And then on the final show, because we'll get there when we get there, we have the re-debut of the Knockout Brothers, right? Big Yuto-Ice and Oscar Loibe.
Sorry, that outfit. I'm just gonna point out when Yuto came out, I was like, "Yo, what's happening?"
Yuto-Ice. I was like, when did he get charisma? Oh my goodness.
We always insulted him, didn't we, on this one?
Yeah.
They re-debut these guys, and it's like they're made out to be these stars, but they're also part of the young generation. So what's the narrative here with the young generation?
They better come in here and win some championships, because this is what these young guys haven't been able to do. They've gotten their big wins here or there. The Tsuji winning the New Japan Cup, and winning the global heavyweight championship. Ren Narita won the TV championship. Kosei Fujita won the Best of Super Juniors. But when the chips are down, when everything's on the line, when there's a big title or a big tournament like the G1, they always fail. Like it's become very depressing to be a fan of the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling, because it's not like it's not there. It's right there, and they just refuse to go all in on it. They just always kind of just let's dip our feet in the water, because if all of this is for Takeshita to win the championship from Zack, and then it's Takeshita and Yota Tsuji in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, I hope that's what we're going towards.
That's the
because
hope.
that is probably the best case scenario in all of this. But even so, you didn't have to do all of that. Yeah. You didn't have to have Tsuji lose the way he did. You could have just had it be Shota Umino for all of this. For all of this, I would have accepted Shota Umino. Shota Umino's also not gonna. You would think, if you're New Japan and you're paying attention to everything, despite him having a great tournament that improved his kind of reputation and how people view him, he's still a guy that you would think Takeshita's going to get cheered over him. So why not it be Shota Umino instead of Evil?
The problem is, and I wanted to bring this up, and so Jay News mentioned this earlier, and I was thinking about it. So when the last time we obviously had a heel versus babyface, it comes down to the bare problem of New Japan has a heel problem. E.g., they don't have any. War Dogs, we are teetering. I mean, even though obviously Yuto and Oscar came back and attacked Taichi, they're still firmly tweeners. Like, especially Driller's whole run in this, and how Gabe was obviously so upset that he had to come out, like he had to drop out the tournament. Tweeners, unaffiliated tweeners. House of Torture are the only heels, and that's the sad thing, is like, if you want to have this babyface versus heel, it makes sense. But when your only heels are the House of Torture, you're fucked. And I get it. I get you want to do a heel versus babyface. It's been a while. Like, it's fun. But when you're put to the wall because your only heels are House of Torture, and like Jay News and you both said, they have good wrestlers. We've not seen it in a while. But they have.
We're always surprised. If they have a semi-decent matchup, we're talking about it like it's a 4-star matchup, because it's just really rare that they even have decent matches.
I was like, yeah, no, there was a good match for Evil, but that's an Evil standard. Like, this is how low the like. Don't be saying he's match of the year contender or like, oh, it's Evil's best match. That's not hard. That's
Right,
really
but
not
for
Yeah.
and for all intents and purposes, it's like we like you were saying, Sonal, you know, House of Torture is the lone real heel group in the company. But for the foundation of it all is they're the heel group without heel heat, because it's go away heat more than it is heel heat. To quote
Yeah.
the term and the phrase of
But
the channel.
the crowd are literally chanting Kairu, which means go.
Go away. Yes, exactly. So it's like it's not that people don't want to boo them. They don't want to continue to see what they've been seeing, because to them it's a clown show. It's not real heel wrestling. You
But
know?
I will say this. I know House of Torture will have fans. And actually they mentioned this on commentary, which was quite interesting, is that, and I think I saw it on social media as well, is that House of Torture have fans. Obviously they have fans. But I think people, especially with the discourse of everything we're doing, think that the House of Torture fandom is bigger than it is. What it is they're a very dedicated fan base. I compare them to an idol group fan base. They are a male idol group base. They are very, very passionate about them, which is why you will hear. It's like, for example, during the tournament, there was one guy who was going to shows and he was just cheering Okan really loudly.
Oh,
Like
I don't know if you heard me say this and all, but I'll say it for you here. I told SP3 last Friday, the Great Okan's future in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is going to be the future Toru Yano of New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is Okan's future.
He did.
You know, I was discussing this. I did a podcast with someone 3 weeks ago, right at the start. And I was saying how Okan, the problem is he's very weird, is he's in the weird middle class, like between like the Roppongi 3Ks, Jays and stuff, and then like he doesn't know, like they don't know who they are. They're everything, like we saw the match with Zack, great match. Continue with that, but no, they want to try and do this, but then they want to be entertainer, but then with the if Okan just found like a single thing and said, oh, okay, I'm now going to go for like a shoot fighter, or I'm going to do like mat base, he'll be fine. But like you said, J News, for someone who came in and he had this identity in the Empire and stuff, just going nowhere. And he's not consistent enough in the ring, in the character wise. My investment, I'm skipping his post-match comments because they just babble on about something. Yeah. He's like Bolton Oleg now.
We got that. I forgot to mention, we're already like almost 30 minutes in. Drop the like on this video, share this video, subscribe if you are new to the channel. Also, you can sound off in the comment section if you're watching us on demand. And of course, if you're with us live, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of y'all. We just had to get out our true emotions about Evil making it to the finals of the G1 Climax. I went on for like 3 hours on Saturday about that. I was like, I'm just bothered. I had to give Gato worst of the week for that decision, which was surprising because WWE had a week. So,
but no, I
Gato
was on after the show yesterday. I was on social media speaking to my friend, and I was like, what is with this constant thing of like, oh, Evil got slightly cheated. Evil should have won. Evil was the more popular. Evil has to win for it to be the right. You want Evil main event in Wrestle Kingdom?
That's the weird logic that we're working with here. And of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you can send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. Goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here. Goes a long way to help the channel grow. So we always appreciate the support. Like from our friend Genesis J here, who says they pit Doki in House of Torture. Hell yeah. NJPW is dumb as fuck.
I think Doki always should be heel, but I think they should have given him a new faction.
You know, it's interesting, the Doki dynamic, because Doki was a heel for a long period of time in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then all of a sudden the fan base got behind him. And once he started to ride that wave, unfortunately, he then got hurt, and then they bring him back, and then they have him join the house. And it's like, you take all that good momentum away for what necessarily, right? Because you also have a juniors problem. at this point. So, and we're not even talking about that because this is a G1 conversation. So it's just like,
yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that because that
Yeah.
was one of the preliminary matches on the
but
finals.
it's like the inconsistencies of the booking. It being whoever's in charge right now, be it Gato, Dick Togo. I put in Tana on blast too, man. He's a part of that damn team as well. So
I mean, he's president. They can't be making decisions without signing it off with the Chacho.
So well, you never know. You never know. Gato might call Travis Scott before letting him know.
God, this man said Travis Scott. Sonal, can you explain to me who this Japanese boy band was that did like the theme song and all that crap? It ended up on the show yesterday.
No, they're Ballistic Boys. I'm aware of the whole idea. I don't specifically listen to them, but I know them. So they're in a part of a group called Exile Tribe, and Exile Tribe like a massive group, and they have subunits. So a bit like when Bullet Club was like House of Torture and like War Dogs and stuff. So these guys are J-pop idols and stuff, and this is a specific group of Exile Tribe, very popular Ballistic Boys. And yeah, they did the theme tune for it. They've been appearing in a lot of content for New Japan. Obviously, one of them was on commentary. Yeah. Oh, and their newest member is Great Okan.
That would make sense. Great Okan being part of a boy band, that actually makes sense to me.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Great Okan's got more bits with Japanese type celebrities than he's got more clout there than he does in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he's a full-time New Japan Pro Wrestler at the end of the day. So I don't know what to do with freaking Okan anymore. Shouts to Callum Newman for cursing up a storm on his last backstage promo and just letting people know that he's tired of the bullshit and that he's gonna try to get the United Empire on his back and try to take him to new heights. And,
yeah. Also, shout out to Callum generally. I think Callum really went under the radar. He had some great matches, like really showcased himself as a wrestler. Again, that big win against Tanahashi. I feel like with everything that's been going on and like the new generation having people forget about Callum sometimes. But actually, Callum is, like you mentioned, Jane, the final few days, his promos and stuff really hit the heart. Like, really genuine, but really, like, strong. And especially with, like you said, everything going on with the United Empire. Like, the man was like, yeah, we know we're shit. We know shit's going on. We're here, there, and everywhere. And that's really nice. You can feel the genuine, like, he realizes the narrative going on around the Empire. And rather than be like, oh, we're so close, we're so blah, 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 he's directly being like, no, we're shit. And I don't want to be a leader, but I'm going to sort this shit out.
He's Prince Devitt Newman, is what
That's right.
Calling him. He's got that Prince Devitt in him right now.
He's a bitter young man. And he is. He's like 23. Like proper Gen Z? Gen Z?
Well, Jay News wanted to address this. We have Yusuf who said, I came here a month after I said Bolton Oleg will have one of the standout runs in the G1, and I feel fucking vindicated.
All right, let's have this conversation because I already see Sonal shaking her head. I see SP3 in the late mid because he knows what's coming. RP Jesus, you too, man. You too, with this Bolton Oleg agenda. I don't know what.
Can I say something quickly, James? Because I know we're gonna dig into him with him. There was a bit of hope. I saw a bit of hope when who was the match against? Was it Callum actually? When he was like, and there was a hint. I saw some personality. It lasted all but just that one match. So I just wanted to get some positivity because I feel like everyone has this discourse, Jane, that the two of us we just really hate Bolton Oleg. For like reasons that aren't not like we just want him to do it. So hey, I'm gonna throw in. There was some positive. He had like one good day.
You know. Let me.
He had one good match.
No, he had one match where I was actually interested in him.
Okay,
that's the thing.
What was that? What match was that?
The Callum Newman one.
Okay. That's right. RP Jesus is right. I took RP Jesus' comments out of context. He just said they were consistent with Bolton Oleg. He's absolutely right. New Japan has been consistent with Bolton Oleg. Bolton Oleg has consistently been boring. Is what we're at. This is where we're at. He's absolutely right. My bad, RP Jesus. My apologies, brother. My apologies. But yeah, he did not stand out this tournament. Far from. No
if you ask
one,
him to name
no
any
one.
good matches, I don't think he's in a single one of them.
I didn't read anyone ringing the Bolton Oleg bell during this tournament at all. If anything, I heard about how great Tai Chi was doing. I heard about how the Perez was closing out his last G1. I heard about Takeshita at the end of the day. I heard nothing about Bolton Oleg. I didn't hear anything. And then I see a couple of his matches. And then I say to myself, it's more of the same. It's more of the same. So yes, absolutely. Bolton Oleg has been consistent because it's more of the same. He still does nothing for me.
Consistently boring.
He's consistently boring at the end of the day.
No,
That's where we're at. With
the
it.
worrying
At least
thing,
me, not we. Me.
Me as well. I bring this up consistently how the young lions have more personality. There's the new young lion who debuted alongside Zane J. Name
Matsumoto.
Matsumoto. Matsumoto has more fire and passion.
Yes.
I was watching his post-match comments from the last 2 days because obviously they had their big debut and stuff. That man had fire. The man had fire. The Bolton Oleg does not. Oh, Genesis.
That ain't the guy. There's a bunch of young lions.
I thought he was in the G1 to start with.
I remember when we did our G1 preview, and I made a comment about a couple of years ago when the C block was just made up of the young lions at the end of the day. And I felt like this should have been the case this year because they have a glut of young lions at the end of the day. We didn't see Zane, Jay, and Matsumoto till the tail end of the tournament at the end of the day. They were just doing ringside stuff. But we saw Shobakato and freaking Murashima and stuff like that, and freaking Yasuda, and for me, looking at these young lions, the fire and obviously Daiki Nagai, the fire and the personality that they've shown as young lions, I never saw and still don't see in Bolton Oleg. Yeah, I'm bringing it back to that. I still don't see that in Bolton Oleg at the end of the day. I just can't. I don't. Just because you're big and somewhat athletic doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to like you as a professional wrestler. It doesn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? It's just no.
I think we brought this up though in the past of that he needs an excursion. We've mentioned Yuto Nakajima. We thought he had nothing. Look at that man come back. Yuto-Ice.
Yuto-Ice.
An excursion isn't just a case of you're learning different styles, you're wrestling with different people. It's finding a character that works, finding a different persona. And who'd have ever thought that we'd be like, oh, Yuto, send Bolton Oleg on excursion somewhere. I know I said in Mexico, send him. Do you know what I mean? He needs to get away from New Japan because he's not bringing anything. Oh no, that sounds mean. That sounds really mean, doesn't it?
I agree with
but you gotta be honest. You gotta keep it real.
If there's a list of you have a list of wrestlers that you want to keep in New Japan, the ones that are important, you're never gonna put Bolton Oleg on there, are you? If you got to snip somebody off, you're like, well, Hontai needs a bit of trim down. You've got to get rid of them from the company. You'll get rid of some of the. You'll unfortunately put some of the New Japan dads on the bench. Like they've had their time. But I would probably put Bolton Oleg on there.
So here's a question for you, Sonal, because there was a big announcement that came out of the finals yesterday that we must talk about, and it is the return of Taguchi Japan.
Woo! Best news of 2025. Taguchi Japan is making its return.
So does Bolton Oleg get stuck in the Taguchi Japan vortex? Does he belong there?
He can stay in Hontai. I don't want him in Taguchi Japan.
Okay, fair enough.
She's like you only want good things for Taguchi Japan.
Taguchi Japan. I like Taguchi Japan because it feels like it's like Taguchi is like, this is my secret club, and I think it needs. You know what? Actually, if they want to, they can put Bolton Oleg in it because I feel like. Because remember when Wato came back from excursion and he was put with Tenzan and it was a little bit shit. But actually, Wato's personality really started to shine when he was teaming with Taguchi because Taguchi let him showcase some fun. So actually, you know what? If Bolton Oleg is going to work closely with Taguchi, and it'll help bring out something that isn't like a vanilla ice cream, put him in Taguchi Japan.
Yeah,
maybe
I,
Taguchi
I'm
can
with,
go off some of that
I'm,
personality.
I'm with you there. To reply to King of the North here and whatnot. No, don't keep him away from Taguchi Japan. Let him join Taguchi Japan. Maybe Taguchi can bring something out of Bolton Oleg that we don't see. And if we start to see it, then we might be able to get behind him at the end of the day. But for right now, he's just not it. I disagree with this whole him having this spotlight tournament, So I'll keep it there.
I don't think he had a top 5 tournament, and we'll do that. We'll give our top 5 MVP for the tournament, top 5 matches for the tournament before we're
I also think
things
just
off here.
quickly, I think there's with Oleg with a tournament like G1 with so many names, there's extra. You want to either be so good that people are like, oh my god, this is amazing. Or I guess you'd want to be so bad like House of Swords to be. The worst thing you can be as a pro wrestler is forgettable.
Yeah. We always say that here. We say we rather a show be really bad or be really great. Anything in the middle is kind of boring. If it's just good, if it's just there, if it's just fine.
And I think Oleg was probably one of the only people that I was like, if he wasn't there, my list of top matches wouldn't have changed. My list of MVPs wouldn't change.
It's sad, but it is true. There wasn't even like the Great Okan has like the match with Zack that was like, oh, you're actually still good.
The one that you can remember, the one you go, Okan match. I can't remember what happened in any of Oleg's matches.
Yeah. Evil would have been like that if he didn't have that final.
No,
I don't think Evil had a good match until the final.
No, but he had bad matches and we remembered all of those.
Well, that's true.
So he's memorable for having shocking matches.
I think the narrative with the members of the House of Torture is that they had great first half of their matches. Then the latter half of their matches were all shit at the end of the day. That was the running story.
Y'all keep telling me that Sonata was good in those matches, man. I don't believe y'all.
They showed a hint of excitement. You're like, oh, they're gonna wrestle well, and then they didn't.
He's just there. He's just
not an MVP of the tournament for his outfits because a lot of people were shit ass boring.
He did.
Favorite, but style MVP goes to Sonata, man. From the
he does
now.
He does deserve that award. He does deserve that. What do you think about this from Dustin? Because this is a common thing that's talked about on the New Japan discourse. Is he says, I may be the only one, but I don't think any of the new generation are ahead of the other. I do. I think that Tsuji is the best total package of everybody. He gets it on the mic. He gets it as a character. He's got the look. He can deliver in the ring when it matters the most, when the chips are down. I think like the only one that a lot of people kind of like didn't like as far as like recently, especially like in 2025, was the second Gabe Kid matchup. But he's been in bigger spots with Gabe at New Beginning, and he delivered there. He delivered as the global heavyweight champion. He had the big return. You had him lose there. You had him lose in the G1, and he's overcome all of that. He won the New Japan Cup. This was his time. That's why it's so frustrating to be a fan of the future of New Japan, because if anybody was ready, it was Tsuji.
Yeah, I think they're it's hard when you measure that because obviously you've still got different classes and things. But actually, like as SPT said, Tsuji is already great. I think Fujita, obviously, again, they didn't pull the trigger, but Fujita is really good. He's 23, 24. He's got his character down. He has his style down. So yeah, there are people. I think again, this is the whole thing that we mentioned. It's even in this tournament is that there were young guys who had great matches individually, but the whole narrative didn't come together to show one of them. Because if you look at individual matches, Oiwa did amazing. He has some great matches. He really started to showcase who he is as a wrestler, getting a lot of cheers. But then again, he didn't get to stand out as much because of his number of points. So.
Yeah, I get nervous. I get nervous with Big Roy sometimes, man. I don't want to lump him into the likes of an Okan or a Bolton Oleg and stuff like that because I see a lot more in Oiwa than that. But sometimes it's like they, the good matches don't turn into anything necessarily. But I'm glad that he's at least with TMDK, so that there's some sort of a spotlight on him and things of that nature, from a positive standpoint. So I think that he can continue to build. But I think it was Dustin who said who talked about the previous comment about the younger guys, nobody being out in front. I think it's universally understood that Tsuji's in front at this point. If you wanted to rank them, you could, but how would you, right? Because after Tsuji, is the fall off as precipitous as we think it is? Probably not. But like, it's Uemura, it's Roy, it's Shooter. You understand that Narita's at the bottom of the barrel just because of what they've done with him, booking wise and character wise.
But what can I just say? Out of all of House of Torture, Narita's the one who pisses me off the least.
I say out of House of Torture, he's the one that had the best match before Evil was in the final.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Sonal mentioned the junior. She mentioned Fujita. She's absolutely. I agree with what she said about Fujita knowing his character, being as young as he is. He has a very unique style and flair to him, and whatnot. So he knows who he is, and I still champion for Watto, because it's like he's been in the freaking company long enough now where now I understand it's not the kid, it's the booking, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, how much more is he supposed to give you with what you've given him, right? So it's like the booking has hindered him a whole hell of a lot, I would say. Another person who's been hindered by their booking lifelong and also injury as well is Yo. But Yo's not of that younger generation at the end of the day. But we all love Yo. But yeah, man, of the guys who are in that heavyweight scene, Tsuji's head and shoulders above the rest. I think that Yuya Uemura is closing that gap real quick. But they've got to give him that opportunity, right? The booking's got to be there for him at the end of the day. So
he should have at least made the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
with his performance,
I agree, man.
He should have made the playoffs.
If we're gonna talk about, and we'll get to it, but if we're gonna talk about anybody having standout performances in the tournament, Uemura is that guy. At the end of the day, outside of,
well, I'll put it out there. I'll do my top 5 for MVP. I would say, top 5 MVP. I would go 5 David Finlay, because I felt like he had really great matches. He had the strong story throughout with the whole comeback and everything. And he's in that kind of middle ground where he's not really a young guy, but he's also not like one of their veterans.
He's like Yo because he's that same class.
Yeah, he's more in that class, but he hasn't kind of hit the tippy top of like winning the G1, being the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. But I think we can all see it now in him, especially after the year that he's had. But I think he had a great performance in the G1 this year. 4, I would say 4. I would have put Tsuji before until what they did to him in the semifinals. But I would actually put Shoto Umino at 4 because I feel like he gained the most because he found himself. He found the new style for himself in this G1. Then I would go 3 is Taichi, because I think that Taichi was just amazing, great storytelling and everything that he did throughout the tournament. Then I would go 2, Zack Sabre Jr., because Zack was just great throughout. He was like the MVP of the B block. But overall MVP, I would go number 1, Yuya Uemura. Yuya Uemura impressed me the most. Like, he had the first match in the G1 that felt like it was G1 to me with the Tsuji matchup. That was just like, okay, this feels like the G1. This feels like this could one day be the G1 final. This can be the Tokyo Dome main event. Oh, this is what I want from the young guys. Made me feel like that. Had a great performance against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Had the great matchup at the end with David Finlay, which really had you on the edge of your seat because it was like, are they going to give it to Uemura, or is Finlay going to complete the comeback? So you can go either way, and they had the crowd split as well there. And then, but the match that impressed me the most, and is probably going to be in my top 5 matches, him and Ryohei Uiwa. That was just beautiful, fundamental, technical wrestling at its finest. and I feel like it's getting underrated already by some people, but it shouldn't be, because there's a beauty to that matchup and what it tells for like the future of New Japan with both of those guys. Who is your top 5, Sonal?
I'm not good with putting an order in. I want to do a special shout out to Callum. Special shout out to there. Number 5, I'm going to say Yoshihashi. The man that went 4 straight wins had me thinking he might win it. But more importantly, it was because I remember when ELP was on commentary and he said, people only put in 100% when they are in the main event. Yoshihashi was always in like the opening block match, and the man put in 110%. So, you know what? Shout out to Yoshihashi. I always love Yoshihashi. And also, I think he's very good in the ring. Like, I think people, because he's like not ever elevated to the top, but he always puts on great matches. So, Yoshihashi is 4th. The top 4 is like hard because it's like I'm trying to figure out. 4, I'm going to say Taichi. He broke my heart because obviously he didn't win, and that was that out of the way. But Taichi was great. I think the storylines that he had to is the way at the end he was like, I came bottom of the block. But again, he was happy because he wasn't even meant to be in it. So, and he did great. He adopted Yasuda, like the 2 Hokkaido boys working together. The whole storyline with Kojima towards the end was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So yeah, number 3, I'm going to say Oiwa. I think it's phenomenal. Like, I get what Jane was saying, like there's a worry that he's not getting, because for example, like he had to fight his way into this G1. I don't think he should have needed to, but that's what happened. Tied for 2, and I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm going to say Uemura, because again, amazing, but I'm also going to put Driller in there. Because I actually think Driller it's his first tournament. He had a really good tournament. His match against Zack Sabre Jr. is one of my favorite matches. I think it was phenomenal. And then top, Zack Sabre Jr. The man was on a losing streak to start with, and we saw chairs getting flung and stuff. And then he just did the no nonsense, like I don't give a shit. Also, he gets an extra 20 points for coming out and getting rid of Ren Narita during the final. Why is no one speaking about this? Zack should be everyone's MVP this year.
He was the shield.
It took the final for someone else to come in to get rid of him, but it was Zack, and I appreciate that.
We do appreciate you, Zack, for that. Jay News, who is your top 5 for MVP?
Oh man, being that I did miss the majority of the tournament, I'm gonna ride what I said earlier, because it just seems that way just from watching highlights and like understanding the narrative that was built around the tournament. Uemura, I'm gonna agree with you there. SP3, he's probably number 1 for me. And how he was able to show out and still being part of that young generation and being able to, make his mark on the tournament, I think was very, very important. Number 2, I give it to Taichi, just because of his incredible knack of being able to tell these stories without even being the focus of the tournament at the end of the day. What he was able to do, like Sonal was talking about, all the stuff that happened with Kojima the last 3 shows and whatnot, and
he was gaslighting Kojima so much. He was like, "It's your fault we broke up. I can't trust you anymore." Not that he turned on Kojima to start with.
Him adopting Yasuda. You know what I'm saying? That was cool, because it seems like all the young lions are factioning off themselves at this point. Number 3. Yeah, man. Let me get on the neutral side here, because he was able to build himself back up through this tournament. Number 3's got to be Shooter for me. At the end of the day, he was able to reestablish himself and lend himself some credibility after this tournament is over. So I'll give Shooter that love there. For Big Zack, ZSJ. Without ZSJ, I don't think that a lot of guys in this tournament would have had their best matches. So props to ZSJ. I've never doubted his ability to be a great champion. It's just more or less how the booking and the storytelling has been going this year in 2025. All that being considered, ZSJ at 4 for me. five I'm gonna give the big soups, man, because he came out to be the G1 winner at the end of the day. Takeshita for me gets the tail end because he didn't have a bad match, man. He just didn't.
He didn't. The only bad match he had was Ren Narita, and he has no option on that.
Exactly.
Everyone's worst matches with a member of House of Torture.
And to quote people and to quote the team on commentary as well, he's the one who had the most matches and was the one who had the longest accumulated time in the G1 in history at this point.
Yeah.
Which is to say a lot after 35 years of a goddamn tournament. You know what I'm saying? So shouts to Shooter there, and I'm with Sonal as well. Special shout out to Calvin Newman, man. Really coming into his own here. Is there going to be some slight gimmick infringement for the time being? Sure. He's trying to find himself. He said it in his last promo. He came in as Baby Ospreay. He shed that at the end of the day, and now they got him doing Ferg stuff or whatever. We'll see how bitter he can be.
I think the thing with calendar, people don't really realize how young he is because he doesn't look young, but he's like 22. So he came in with again the Ospreay's little brother, and it's gonna take a while to find himself. But actually, he's coming on leaps and bounds by himself, and rather than some people who will take the hate that he got for Ospreay and try and push it, it's he's leaning into it and really using that to further his story. He's like fuck Tokon, fuck fighting spirit. Do you know what I mean? And I think he'd be great.
You're here for it. We got Genesis J with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Genesis J, for the support. He says, Gato's a fraud, got me here agreeing with SP3. I mean, Gato knows how to bring people together on occasion.
Well, booking. I mean, we can't assume that all of this was Gato alone. Can you imagine?
There. Dick Togo's fingerprints were all over a couple of matches, man.
Yeah,
there was no way that everyone in the office was like, Gato, you do what you want. And Gato was like, I want to do it. I'm doing an evil match. None of you can change my mind.
That's what he said. He's like, I'm booking evil to win it all.
You can't book any difference. That's what's happening.
And then Tanahashi was just like, all right, calm down. He makes it to the finals. He's like, all right, meet me in the middle.
I'll take that.
Speaking of which, we're going to talk about the semifinals matches and then the final show. But we're going to go through the semifinals here first. We got Evil versus Tsuji. So, I think most of us going into this was just like, yeah, Tsuji's going to win. Of course. Why wouldn't Tsuji win? But the way that this whole thing was going out, and they mentioned that Evil had made it to this point 2 years ago, and he's trying to make the summit, trying to make it to the finals. I was like, that would be the weirdest thing ever, but they're not going to do it. So the whole matchup, I felt like nervousness building, unlike the final where the nervousness was just from the very beginning when the show even began. This matchup, it took a while for me to get nervous, but the more Evil was in control and working over the leg of Tsuji, I was like, oh, they can say the leg is or something. But then you get all the House of Torture interference. You get unaffiliated kind of counteracting the interference, but they still get overcome as well. You get Kanemaru holds the leg of the referee, and then Bad Luck Fale comes in. He gives Tsuji the Bad Luck Fall, where Tsuji lands hard onto the mat. And then Evil locks on the Darkness Scorpion, the Scorpion Deathlock, and the referee checks on Tsuji. And as when the bell rings, I'm thinking, oh, that's Kanemaru ringing the bell. He always does that stupidness to make it seem like the match is over. And then the thing came up and it said Evil, the winner. I was like, wait, what? Wait, nah, they're joking. They're gonna restart the match, right? And they just start celebrating. I was in disbelief. I cannot describe to you the feeling of disappointment, of sorrow, of sadness that I had for New Japan Pro Wrestling and for Evil making it to the final. But my man Yota Tsuji got pwned by Evil. Yes, he's protected. It took 101 guys to beat him. That's all fine and dandy. This was the G1. I said at the beginning of the G1, you remember, J-Dudes, I said at the beginning of the G1, they got no choice but to make one of their young guys the winner of this year's G1. They had to put one of these guys over. And there's only one left. And he loses in the semifinal, not the finals, the semifinals. I was so disappointed. J-News, what did you think about Evil and Tsuji and the result? I gave the match like 1 star, and I think I'm being generous.
That's nice. How nice seeing you, SP3.
You know, I think that watching this match left me with a sour taste in my mouth. One, right? So it's a negative overall, just because I thought the booking was shit and everything else in between. To SP3's point, this was the tournament where you had to be able to start the momentum for one of the younger guys, and you're refusing to do it yet again, right? I think that when they're giving these young guys these opportunities in these big matches, let's use Shooter's main event at Wrestle Kingdom, right? You set him up to fail because he didn't really have the momentum going into that match, right? And into a match with Zack, you have no momentum. Who expects you to do well at the end of the day? And then for by majority, I thought the match was fine, but from the overall macro perspective, people thought he shit the bed, right? And then you have him
metaphorically, not physically.
Then you have him go into this depressive spiral and whatnot, trying to find himself, and now he's found himself again somewhat, right? He's in a much stronger position is Shooter. But to talk about Tsuji, it's like, what are we doing here? He was the guy that SP3 told me should have beat Sonata after his return.
He should have. This is where it all started. How many times is he going to fail? How many times? He should have beat Sonata at Dominion 2023. He should have at least made the playoffs in his first G1 back. That was ridiculous. That was kind of stupid. Will Ospreay, we all knew he was going to leave. Should have beat him when he had the U.S. Championship opportunity. Hell, we could go over and over. He wins the New Japan Cup and loses to Naito 9 months before Naito leaves the company. Should have had him beat Naito. He should have beat Okada before Okada left. They let Okada leave.
Yo, maybe this is a sign now. So maybe, like, if you face Tsuji and they win, then they leave. So maybe that's what's happening with Evil.
What?
I think that's the only bright side. She's trying to see some bright side in all this, but I'm so frustrated. Tsuji's the guy. He's been the guy. Why won't they just let him be the guy, J-Deuce?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm on the Tsuji bandwagon, man. I've been said it since he was his days during while he was a freaking young lion. I love Tsuji. It's just, I don't necessarily know what the vision is over in New Japan right now. I don't know what the vision is. And for all intents and purposes, we'll see where it goes. There's a contingent. 2FK is said something here. There's a contingent of fans who think that Evil is going to turn face after what's been going on in the G1, right? And first of all, I don't see that happening because he is the leader of the House of Torture, and there's just no way.
They love Evil for being evil. They don't love Evil for not being this. They love this stuff.
Evil being good.
I don't see that happening necessarily. But yeah, I just don't see the vision, man. I don't necessarily understand where they're going with this. Are you now with Takeshita winning the G1 and Takeshita saying that he wants to fight Zack sooner rather than later? Is Zack going to drop the championship before Wrestle Kingdom so that we can get Tsuji and Takeshita at Wrestle Kingdom?
It's weird because he said that he wants sooner rather than later, but he then when I looked back to the post-match comments, he said, I want to go into Wrestle Kingdom as G1 winner, and then, so it's weird, the term he used was "soshite," which is like, it can mean and, but more likely it means and then. So at first I thought he wanted to challenge Zack, and that made it seem like it, but then I don't know.
Yeah,
well, in the press conference, he said that he wants to face Zack soon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the translations are always like iffy because of the way things get conjugated in Japanese. So it's like, all right, is he gonna do it next event? Is he gonna do it at Wrestle Kingdom? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's that's why I feel like Japanese is such a hard language to learn. Some people think it's easy. No, it's not easy. So, it's not easy. But anyways, point being, I don't know what they want to do with Tsuji. I don't know what they want to do with Shooter. I don't know what they want to do with any of the young guys at this point, because it doesn't seem like any of them have any momentum going forward right now. None of them.
No.
And
the scary part, this is why I said I emphasize that Tsuji versus Takeshita is the best case scenario in all of this for Tsuji fans, for fans of the young guys, and fans of New Japan moving forward. Because I think that the other possibility that's probably maybe more likely than that one, Shota Umino in the main event of the Tokyo Dome again.
Yeah.
He beat Takeshita in the G1.
I know.
So Takeshita beats Zack at King of Pro Wrestling, and then it's Shooter who gets the shot at Wrestle Kingdom.
So here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing, right?
Chaos booking, let's do it.
Here's the thing, though. We can't, like, for all intents and purposes, I think that Shooter's a good enough kid. I'm not gonna say he's the best human being in the world, but he's a good enough kid, right? You can't put him in that position 2 times in a row, man. You just can't do that to him. You can't.
I agree.
You can't.
I agree, but this is what we're dealing with. This is the person
right. That's true.
We're dealing with Gato.
Yeah, that's the point.
Let's talk about the other semifinal matchup, which may be a preview of either Wrestle Kingdom or King of Pro Wrestling, as we had Zack Sabre Jr. going up against Konosuke Takeshita. And I thought that their matchup during the blocks was one of the best matches of the tournament. But this match was even better. I thought the storytelling, the selling was really good. The crowd was out of it in the early going because of what happened in the previous matchup. But I thought that these two guys were able to overcome that. The story with Takeshita, with the wore down knee, you had him just attacking the neck of Zack and just like with crazy German suplexes where Zack was landing on the back of his head. Zack had at least like 4 different bumps that I was just like, oh shit, now I'm scared for your livelihood and what's gonna happen to you. His attack of the leg was ridiculous with the different submissions that he added in. I thought that Takeshita was really good with his selling throughout of either the arm or the leg that Zack was going after, but he just completely just started destroying Zack, like the wheelbarrow German suplex, the bastard driver, the blue thunder bomb, and then he hits this ridiculous, it's supposed to be a raging fire off the top rope, but it becomes a twisting brain buster where Zack lands on the top of his head right on the mat. He then has to hit the world-class forearm. He hits him with the power drive knee, and then finally the raging fire. 1, 2, 3. Konosuke Takeshita has pinned the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and moves on to the G1 Climax final. I gave this match 4 3/4 stars. This was one of the best matches of the tournament. They went out there, especially the final 10 minutes was absolutely superb. These two guys have great chemistry with one another where they have 2 different styles, but they mesh very well. And Zack forces Takeshita to kind of have to sell more. So I like his matches with Zack a lot. And then post-match, of course, we get Takeshita with a promo and Evil interrupts, and he has all his clowns coming out the clown car to end the show. Sonal, what did you think about Takeshita and Zack, I guess the second time in comparison to your first time? And what were you thinking going into the final show?
Stressed. I had 24 hours stress, but actually this match, I rewatched it yesterday evening. Yeah, yesterday evening, because I was like, I don't think I could fully have watched it properly until after the final. And it was really good. Like you mentioned Zack as one of the MVPs. He had great matches with literally pretty much everyone, even Ren Narita, but it wasn't obviously great. It was Ren Narita, but the thing with Zack is that he has a distinct style, very special to Zack, but he can shape it in a way that helps his opponent. Yeah. Like he's never one to be like, well, this is my style, this is what we're gonna do. You can see Zack occasionally go to the top rope, going for his kicks, and do you know what I mean? So, and Takeshita very similar. He has his style, but he can also adapt that to his opponent. So it meant that they were, like you said, their block match was great, but this was even better. The move off the top rope that did stress me out. It was quite funny because that got a lot of shit for his selling or lack of selling in that. I kind of think it was pretty genuine. It literally looked like someone who had been knocked on the head and was trying to figure out what the fuck was. I think that some wrestling fans, and a lot of these people who saw the clip, I assume they didn't watch the match. Yeah. They have this idea of what they think selling should be. The selling should be like all over the place. It doesn't always have. Zack has never been someone who has done it that way.
Exactly.
So, like, the way that Zack sold that move was legit. Like, you were like, shit, he is trying to figure out what is going on. Rightly so, because goddamn that move. And I just think that was great. Obviously, I kind of, after a small moment, I thought, because at that point, I didn't know if it was a work with Tsuji or not. When I watched the match the first time, I thought, oh, well, if that's the thing, could they change everything and they have Zack win, then to have Zack pick his opponent?
Yeah.
But again, I had picked Takeshita to be in the final anyway, albeit it was versus Tsuji. But I was happy for Takeshita to be in the final. But I was stressed because I was like, if this isn't a work, and they've really thrown a curveball, and I wouldn't doubt them to have Evil win the entire thing.
Yeah, especially with, even if it was a curveball or not, I was like, this. It took me a while into the Zack and Takeshita to kind of think about that match, and I was just like, yeah, that was not a work. I mean, that was not a shoot thing that Tsuji basically gets injured and they call it on the fly that Evil's gonna win. I was like, Evil won. I'm just gonna get over it. I'm gonna focus on this match, and I was able to enjoy it. But yeah, I had to rewatch it to really kind of appreciate how great it was. J News, what did you think?
No, I thought the match was terrific. Shouts to Takeshita for his love of the game, and I say that because every time he's in the ring, there is a belief that he's ready, willing, and able to do anything to win his matches, right? Without having to resort to chicanery and dumbass tactics and things of that nature, which is what always has bothered me about him being a part of the Don Callis family. But that's another conversation for another day.
I was worried. I was like, is Rocky gonna get involved? I was like, is Rocky gonna do anything? But he luckily only had one interference, and that was when it was needed in the final.
Right. But I must say that the love of the game comment I just made also goes towards Takeshita's ability to sell. How he was selling that knee to me was like, brother, man, you took, I don't know how many of these classes, I don't know who trained you, but you are on top of your game. Because every time he was bridging in that German, he was letting that leg go, and I was like, oh, this dude gets it. This dude gets it. Man, between the match with Zack here and his match with Evil in the finals, I was like, yeah, he understands the artistry of what this is, and I commend him for that. But this match versus Zack, that top rope, what was supposed to be the flaming arrow, the burning arrow? What do they call that?
It was supposed to be the Raging Fire.
The Raging Fire, sorry. The Raging Fire, let's call it, for my instance, let's call it a botch, right? And how it went down.
Yeah, it didn't go how it should have gone.
No, it wasn't how it should be.
He was able to protect Zack as much as he could on the way down. But it is hard to turn your body a complete 180 from the top rope, especially handling another man's complete weight. So props to Takeshita for even trying to pull that off. But yeah, man, I thought the match was terrific. GSJ at his best, Takeshita at his best. I wouldn't have been mad if this were the final of the G1, to be quite honest.
I think in my mind, that's what made me want to appreciate it as it was happening. As I was like, this is pretty much my final now.
Yeah.
I saw
this is
that.
who I'm rooting for.
I did see that.
If they would have found a way to get this to be the finals, I would have been okay with it at the end of the day. But they got to the semis and stuff like that, and with Evil's win earlier, and when Evil came out at the end of the match with the whole entire clown car, I said to myself, there better be some justification and justice served. Somebody's got to get down there during the finals and get rid of the House of Torture, and they were able to do that, thankfully, right?
Yeah, Rocky and the Young Lions.
Better late than never.
Yes, they used the glut of young lions that was around the ring to get rid of the majority.
They were like, they've done their matches, but they can still do some work later on.
Yeah, man. A great match though between Takeshita and ZSJ, man. Let's not run this back too soon because we already got a block match and then the semifinal match.
I think it's King of Pro Wrestling.
I think it might be Power Struggle. I don't know why. I feel like Power Struggle. That's November.
Well, King of Pro Wrestling is the bigger show. That's why I said. That's why it would be that one. And that's usually the Nippon Budokan. Yeah, October. Yeah, it's usually in October. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. All I know, to Ari October, I don't think there's going to be a Royal Quest this year.
There's not. There's no Royal Quest scheduled for this year.
They're doing Forbidden Door. It's not
going
to be a
Royal Quest. Because I'm like, I saved up money. I was like, I'm going to do it again. And then I was like, I'm sad.
Sadness. Maybe they come early next year. Maybe.
Hey, I have maybe a plan to maybe go to Japan next year again. Maybe.
There you go. There we go. We shall see.
Maybe that was the kick I needed.
Well, let's go through these prelims on the final very quickly here. We had Young Lion battle of Zane J and Matsutoro Yasuda versus Tatsuya Matsumoto and Shomo Kaito. This one was won by Zane J and Yasuda getting the win here. What do you think about Zane J's new look with the hair, J News?
I mean, I think he's eventually going to grow his hair back out. For folks who haven't seen Zane J before, when Zane J was rookieing it up over here on the West Coast, he had that long blonde mane. So I think he'll go back to his long blonde hair eventually. But it works for what it is that he's doing right now as a young lion. That fire, that intensity, that attitude, that personality that he showed from the outset when him and Matsumoto first appeared at the New Japan Soul Tour, it continues here. And I like what him and Matsumoto bring to the Young Lion class. The commentary kept on talking about Shomakato going on excursion and deciding as to where he wanted to go on excursion. I wanted to bring that up because it's like, has it been that long already? Is Shomakato ready to go on excursion as of yet? I
think they finished their first year because I know Yasuda said he's going into his second year.
But remember, both of them had injuries at the end of the day. So
I think Yasuda's was longer though, wasn't it? Because I know he always said that he wants to catch up with Kato.
Yeah, so for those two guys, it'll be interesting as to where they go. Everyone needs an out of Japan excursion. Outside of what Ryohei Oiwa did with Noah, everyone needs an out of Japan excursion.
Don't do a Bolton Oleg. Don't.
Yeah. Let's
also similarly, I would say this.
Are you always going to take shots at poor Bolton?
No, okay. I won't just say Bolton. This is also what happened with Finley and Hanare. They didn't go on excursion. It took them much longer.
It took them forever.
It took them to leave. It took them leaving Hontai to do something, and that sadly, I think for Finley, it came too late because it way past Jay. Do you know what I mean? Like Jay had been winning titles and all sorts. Similarly with Juice, even though Juice had already been an established wrestler, I still think every young lion needs some sort of, even if it's like what Fujita did, where he didn't do it at one place, but he was following the members of TMDK to different countries and wrestling.
Yeah, and he spent the majority of his excursion in Australia by majority. So, or in that Pacific Islands area.
It doesn't have to be like a year. It doesn't have to be very long. Just
Just go somewhere. Go somewhere.
Go somewhere.
So we got probably the most noteworthy thing from any of the prelim matches in this matchup here. The first match on the main card, which was Satoshi Kojima teaming up with one half of the IWGP Tag Team Champions Taichi to face Katsuya Mirashima and Toke Makabe. This one was fine. It was fine for what it was. You knew who was going to lose in this one. It would be the young lion with Taichi hitting the dangerous backdrop. We finally get a Taichi and Kojima shaking hands moment, as they've been building to that over the last couple of shows. Heading into this final show here, they shake hands, and then the music of the Bullet Club War Dogs hit. We get David Finlay walking out on stage. He pauses, and then he calls for backup, and it is none other than the returning Youngblood, Yota Nakashima and Asuka Lobe, who is now Yuto-Ice and Oscar. We see those two back in New Japan for the first time since New Year's Dash 2024 after their European excursion in Rev Pro and at WXW and a brief interlude in New Zealand. You got Nakashima, who now has white hair and is dressed in all white, while Oscar is dressed in black, who basically looks like a taller version of Jay White when he returned from excursion. They promptly get into the ring and they destroy Kojima, Taichi, and Michinoku, ending with a kick-assisted tombstone to Taichi before posing with Taichi's tag team title, making it clear what they're going after. And it was made official this morning at the press conference ahead of the Destruction Tour. It will be at Destruction in Kobe. Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi defending the IWGP Tag Team Championships against the newly dubbed Knockout Brothers. What did you think about the Knockout Brothers re-debut, Sonal? And, of course, any thoughts on the matchup, which it was just fine to me. I really enjoyed this reintroduction for the Knockout Brothers. I thought this was one of their more effective reintroductions that they've done in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do shout out just to this really casual Kojima Gun storyline that we mentioned earlier. I just think it was hilarious. They got Taka involved. I think this like you said, SP, it's one of the better ones they've done. Again, we're going to link this to Bolton Oleg. I watched their post-match comments, and I remember thinking when Yuto was a young lion, like, there's nothing there. It felt like to me, and I think if this is the dynamic going forward, I love it. Of Oscar being sort of more of the silent, brooding, like tall type, and like Yuto being that mouthpiece. Like what he was saying, I was like, wow, what's that like year and a half in Europe done to you, Yuto? It was like the whole look. Again, it's small things of like changing your ring gear or changing your name or changing the way you walk out. Like Bolton, it still looks like he's ready to sprint down the ring like a young lion. But like Yuto, for all the things we had of him, he has this new like feeling about him, and obviously we don't know what's gonna. Hopefully, like we see something happen, and then they win the titles on him. But again, this is just what me and JD are saying. Excursions are so important.
It's so true. It's very true. J News, any thoughts on the Knockout Brothers, the newest members?
Oh, I don't like the name though.
You don't like the name?
It's because I prefer Youngblood. I think Youngblood was a great name for them.
And it still would have worked with the War Dogs.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand why they changed it, but I've still got a soft spot for Youngblood.
Okay. J News?
Yeah, man. I was wondering where these boys were. I said this at the beginning of the previews, even when we talked about it or whatever the case is, and now they show up. Oscar Loibe looking like a hella tall version of Eric Draven, aka the Crow, for those people who don't know, without the face paint at the end of the day. So that reminded me of that. And I'm going to put this out there just for the fact of putting it out there because it needs to be spoken about before the internet gets a hold of it, right? There is a slight tinge of cultural appropriation here with Yuto-Ice.
There There's quite a lot of cultural appropriation.
but I'm gonna say that for the sake of it being a gimmick and a character, right? And him not following in the footsteps of, let's say, a Togi Makabe, right? I'm all for Yuto-Ice. Let's I
honestly don't think it's gonna last long.
I don't think it's gonna last long either. But I'm all for it right now. At the end of the day, it's different. Like you said, Sonal, it's different. It gives him a slice of personality at the end of the day. Shouts to Yuto, by the way, for wearing some what the dunks with all white wears, silver hair, and the big chain. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I'm saying it's not a little bit of cultural appropriation. If you give this
to a lot of it.
If you give this to a K-pop fandom, because that's the whole thing in K-pop, if you showed Yuto, they would absolutely murder the poor boy for cultural appropriation.
Now, to be fair, right? Because I do my fair share of research when it comes to certain things. To be fair, there's a large hip hop based fan base in Japan, as there is for a lot of different music. Yo, bro, I love dance hall, reggae, and soca. There is a big ass contingent of people in Japan who listen to that kind of music. You know what I'm saying?
It's so in Korea. There's a lot of people who love hip hop and all.
They love all different types of cultures, and I get it. Yes, people are going to be right to say this is complete cultural appropriation. He's trying to be this, he's trying to be that. Look, man, it's a wrestling gimmick. Let's let it breathe for a minute. Like Sonal said, I don't think it's going to last long, to be quite honest. You know, he probably will hear in the social media landscape, but I wanted to put it out there and get ahead of it, because it's like, remember, this is also supposed to be a line of entertainment. As long as he's not out here saying bad and or egregious things, let him rock the look.
Don't jinx it, please don't jinx it. Because remember, this is the same company who had Taiji Shimori with the whole Nazi thing.
Yeah. So, you know, So there's that. So at the end of the day, let him rock with this for the time being. It's just a look at the end of the day. Like I said, unless he starts going off at the mouth and things become inappropriate, then we can go out there with that. But I love the re-debut of the boys. I'm with Sonal a bit. When I saw the Knockout Brothers logo, I was like, Knockout Brothers, huh? I don't know about this name. I was okay with Youngblood, so I was like, it might grow on me at the end of the day. I know that there is I forget who it was. Maybe it could have been Genesis. Genesis might have said that he's looking for the Knockout Brothers to kick out David Finlay as the
God.
You know what someone brought to me? That everyone in the past who has kicked out members has had blue eyes. And
what is this? What is this Easter egg?
No, but someone also linked that to Callum as well. Someone messaged and they were like, "Oh, actually, like there's been a history of like blue-eyed people kicking out members of the." I'm not like this is what I was discussing with somebody.
Oh my God, these people were
deranged. Point out whether Oscar has blue eyes, then they might be on.
Listen, at the end of the day, I did like the re-debut, and I think the boys are, to be quite honest, they're gonna do with them what they didn't do with Tsuji. I'm calling it now. They're gonna win the tag team championships in Destruction.
I think they should.
Because the tag team division is in, so there's nobody.
Yeah. You can do with making somebody by giving them those titles. But we'll talk about the next two matches kind of together because it's all Hontai based. First you get Master Wato, Toriyano, and Yo facing the team of El Desperado, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Yoshihashi. This was a nice little competitive matchup, good action throughout. In the end, though, it came down to Yo and El Desperado, with Yo picking up the win with the double underhook DDT, the direct drive, 1, 2, 3, to earn a possible future shot shot at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. And then it was revealed during the press conference today that it will be Despy defending against Yo coming up at the Road to Destruction, the battle line in Hagato. So I think that we will probably discuss this, and I'll do something for Patreon in regards to the Road 2 show. Then you had more Hontai, as it was El Phantasmo, Bolton Oleg, and Tiger Mask versus the team of House of Torture, Don Fale, Sanada, and Yoshinobu Katamaru. This was a House of Torture match. So there was cheating. It was Sanada and the gang ganging up on Tiger Mask and baiting him with an elbow drop by Don Fale. They tried to attack some more, but it led to a brief brawl between Don Fale and Bolton Oleg, with Bolton Oleg actually getting the better of things and marching him out of the ring, raising the title and showing that he had the better of him. And it looks like we're going to Don Fale versus Bolton Oleg, ladies and gentlemen. Yay! What a time to be alive. And why not just cap off the three-way of Hontai matches, because the next one was Hontai as well. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Shota Umino, and Yuya Uemura versus the United Empires, Callum Newman, Great Okan, and Jacob Austin Young. This was better than the last match because it's not a House of Torture matchup. Like the three-way offense with the three baby faces, with Tanahashi, Shota Umino, and Uemura getting the win with the deadbolt suplex. They celebrated post-match. Great Okan got into Tanahashi's face to challenge him to a matchup. Tanahashi's post-match comments was interrupted by Toru Yano, who also wanted his own matchup with Tanahashi, which is now a best-of-3 series. But big matches have been announced for Tanahashi, continuing his final road at Blue Justice. He goes one-on-one with Yuji Nagata for the final time. We got coming up at Destruction in Kobe. It will be Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Great Okan. And then this three-match series that he has coming up with Toru Yano, where they will face in a trios matchup, a tag team match, and a singles matchup, best of 3. And I think he's also you got for the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships on the Road to Destruction. It's going to be Toru Yano, Yo, and Master Wato defending against Tanahashi, El Desperado, and Taguchi. So you got those matches, more Tanahashi final road, as well as what's going on with Despy and Yo and Bolton Oleg and Don Fale, because everybody wants to see that, right, guys? Sonal, what did you think about these 3 Hontai based trios matches and the matches they're setting up for the future?
Can we just say Fale does not need to be in a ring, never mind a title match?
I 100% agree with that. I don't know what they were thinking. You have a perfectly fine Sonata right there.
I mean, it'd be better than 5, but yeah, we'll skip over that one. I like what they're doing with this I keep saying this. I love what they're doing with this Tanahashi, where they're having. I mean, the Okan one again, it makes sense because Okan dojo and stuff. Tanahashi is basically wrestling all of his kids, if you want to say it like that. But the one with Yano, it's nice that he's doing it with everyone that he has a history with. And this one obviously is Toru Yano, so it can't just be a singles match. So I like that he's finding a way to intertwine all of Hontai, because Hontai is Tanahashi, Tanahashi is Hontai. So I'm really excited for those. They're not going to be match of the year candidates, but they're going to be fun. And it's been a while since we've seen Yano do any shenanigans. So who knows? He might bring the scissors, he might bring the tape. Anything could happen. I'm particularly interested in the Yo versus Despy. I'm trying to think. As much as I would love Yo to win this, I don't think he will. I don't think that they're gonna strap him at any time. But I've been discussing this with my friend who we're obviously very big on the June division, that it could be a stepping stone, I don't know, for Wato later on to event. Our hope has always been that Wato defeats Despy at Wrestle Kingdom. That's the hope. That's what we want. I feel like Jay Nuga, route to the Grandmaster, that's something we'd want. And it feels like if Despy beats Yo, then the natural storyline would be then the tag team partners next.
Yeah.
So yeah, as much as I would love to see Yo win, I don't think he will, but they're going to do a good match, and Yo is as unexpected as ever. But yeah, I'm hoping that this is all the plan just to try and get us a Wato win.
What about you, Jay Knows, whether it be Yo and Despy, Don Fale and Bolton Oleg, or Tanahashi with more of the final road?
Final road to Tanahashi first for me. I'm with Sonal here. I think they're just they're including all of Tanahashi's kids from the dojo in his final road. They're including all the veterans that he's had a relationship with or a history with and things of that nature. I don't know what the hell Chase means, but New Japan fans have this Taylor Swift Easter egg thing about.
It was the line about all the Bullet Club betrayers have blue eyes. Like, what the hell?
Taylor Swift Easter eggs. I would have never thought that'd be a line to come out of the mouth of one Chase.
When you said a Marvel Easter egg, I feel like that would have been a better one for wrestling.
Yeah. It is a Marvel Easter egg.
But what was I gonna say? But anyways, yeah, I like what they're doing with Tanahashi. I want to make this comment because I think it's suitable to be made because they're of the same generation of wrestlers, even though they're of two different companies. There was a lot of discourse going on over the weekend about how bad the Kenta versus Marufuji match was over on Noah.
Did any of you watch it?
I watched clips of it. I understood people's criticism of it, but then I also remembered how old Marufuji is and then what Marufuji's been through the last 30 or so years. I mentioned this in this instance with Tana because they're of the same generation. I think they're the same age, if I'm not mistaken. And Tana's just as broken down as Marufuji is. But we're like, people want to shit on Marufuji, but people don't want to shit on Tana, right? So like for me,
we've been shitting on Tana for ages. I think it's because Tana's retiring now, and they're like,
right.
"Oh, we'll just let him."
And people were calling for freaking Marufuji's retirement, and I'm like, these guys are gonna go out the way they want to go out, and they deserve to go out the way they want to go out. You know what I'm saying? They put companies on their back after a dark age, an unforeseen death in Marufuji's case, and things of that nature. You know, all of this happened in the last 25 years or so, you know, both for Tanahashi and Marufuji, and for people to be calling for his retirement, I thought was a bit strong. But I wanted to put that out there because I thought that with what New Japan's been doing with Tanahashi has been cool. I think that Marufuji should be allowed to do the same thing for himself. And this call for him to retire and all this shit, I think is a bit much. So I just wanted to comment on that. Secondarily, we do not need Bolton Oleg versus Don Fale. It's not a match anyone is clamoring for. No one asked for it. I no longer want Bolton Oleg as the never openweight champion. He's not a BMFer.
Oh,
he's not a BMFer.
Goodness.
He's not a BMFer. Let's get that straight at the end of the day. And I ain't got no love lost for Don Fale, but Don Fale, for all intents and purposes, in the real world, he's one of the better human beings that there is, and he's a great role model. But this House of Torture version of Don Fale, I don't want him anywhere near the ring at this point. I just don't. I just don't. To comment on what Sonal was saying about Yo versus Despy, Yo's not winning that, but after the strong showing Show had earlier this year, I want more for Yo. Yo's not a young pup, even though he looks it. He's not a young guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he needs more opportunity to do different stuff. I think he's going to become a member of Taguchi Japan. It breathes Taguchi Japan. Yo should be a member of Taguchi Japan. And I think he should
two weirdos belong together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he should still be in competing for the junior championship and stuff like that. But if we're gonna finally get to Wato getting to the precipice of the mountain and beating and being the Grand Master, I think this would be the best way to go about it. Because Sonal is right. In New Japan lore, and if you pay attention enough to their booking, usually the tag partner of whoever loses the next match usually gets the next shot. So if we go there, plus the history with Despy and Wato, because Despy and freaking Doki, Despy Wato was a tag team. But when Wato came back from excursion, both Doki and Despy wanted nothing to do with Wato at the end of the day. So the history is there. And I think that if Wato were to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom against Desperado, that will be the defining moment, and he will then be Grandmaster Wato. And that's what we've been waiting for, man. That's what we've been waiting for. So you got to give the kids something.
Long-term storytelling.
Exactly.
All right. Let's talk about the next two matches before we get into the final very quickly here. Bullet Club War Dogs, David Finlay, Drilla Maloney, Gato, and Taiji Ishimori versus unaffiliated Dehapon, Dake Nagai, Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. They did talk about Yota Tsuji being cleared to compete after his matchup with Evil the night prior. In the end, it was the unaffiliated who went down after a whole bunch of three-way offense from the War Dogs, finishing off with Drilla Maloney hitting the Drilla Killer on poor Dake Nagai. Post-match, we get Maloney and Shingo. They start brawling further before Shingo sends Maloney and Gato packing. Shingo then asks for the mic. He challenges Gabe Kidd for the Never Openweight Championship, telling him that he should vacate the title if he cannot defend it, and vows to take care of all the War Dogs. And it was made official at the press conference this morning that it will be at Destruction in Kobe, Gabe Kidd defending the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship against Shingo Takagi. You also will have all War Dog versus unaffiliated War coming up at Destruction in Kobe, as we will have a rematch from the G1 Climax and Wrestle Kingdom, as it will be Yota Tsuji one-on-one with David Finlay. And then finally, we'll have Hiromu Takahashi going one-on-one with Taiji Ishimori at Destruction in Kobe. So a three-way, we'll see a best of three between unaffiliated Dehapon and the Bullet Club War Dogs. And then finally, the final preliminary matchup was House of Torture, Doki, Ren Narita, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi versus TMDK, Hartley Jackson, Kosei Fujita, Roye Uyawa, and Zack Sabre Jr. This one, of course, is to hype up the fact that, like I said in our preview, and J News was like, I hope you're wrong. I was right. We're getting Ren Narita versus Zack Sabre Jr. Ren Narita, in the end, he picks up the win with the Hell's Guillotine on Hartley. We get post-match, Zack flies in and puts a rear naked choke on Narita, but then gets triple-teamed right away. House of Torture is about to injure his leg right after that, but it leads to Zack. It leads to Fujita making the save for Zack.
House of Torture so much you had to bring up Takeshita. You were like, you had to bring the picture up.
Yeah, my bad. I got too excited talking about the final. But yeah, in the end, it was Zack who grabs the chair and defends off Narita, and then Fujita says he wants a shot at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, which will also happen at Destruction in Kobe against Doke and Sho with Robbie Eagles. But Zack and Narita seems like that is on the ledger as well. Sonal, any thoughts on that, or the unaffiliated War Dogs war going on?
I quite like the unaffiliated War Dogs thing. I just think the premise of the fact that obviously Shingo was calling Gabe out, that makes sense. Then Finlay versus Tsuji living. And it's just the fact that like Ishimori was pissed off that Hiromu kept bringing up Noah, so he's like, let's have a fight. I just because Hiromu and Ishimori have magic in the ring, and so is Finlay and Tsuji. So they're going to be great matches. Narita versus Zack. Now, I can't keep having hope that they're going to have a good match when it comes to House of Torture, because we've always mentioned this, that when Narita was a young lion and when he came back, he's a very proficient on the mat himself, very proficient striker. It's the Shibata influence. But I can't keep saying I hope it's going to be good because every time I do it jinxes it. So similarly with the tag team ones, it'll be great to see Robbie Eagles back. I can't see before Tag League. I can't see them beating. No, I will say this: for as shit as Show is in the ring at the moment, and the worry that Doki is probably the same because of House of Torture, the two characters work really well together. You have basically, especially because obviously Doki's come back from a stint in Mexico, of like, the Japanese fans, they just then basically describing sort of like the Western fan, they just don't respect me or anything. And then Show just literally like he's lost his mind. Like, I will say this for all intents and purposes, how much I hate Show in House of Torture because he can't wrestle well. I love the character of Show because Show in Roppongi 3K, he was an amazing wrestler, but compared to Yo, he was a bit bland. It was sort of, he was just the muscle. He was just a big guy who put on good matches. I actually, like, at least the redeeming thing with Show, actually, I find his character quite funny. He's like, he's so unhinged that I think the man is living in his own little world. And it's like Doki is sort of trying to match that. He's like, but just Show just being crazy. So I'm very excited for Unaffiliated versus War Dogs, House of Torture. I'm not going to say anything, but Show's character, especially in the post-match comments the last 2 days, has made me laugh.
There we go. J News, any thoughts quickly on those two?
I have a question. Do we know what the lore or the storytelling behind Shows carrying the upper body mannequin thing is?
I think it's like voodoo, isn't it? Because I know that whenever he does it, he always puts like something linked to his opponent.
Okay.
Like whether it's a T-shirt or something like that. This is what I mean. Show is awful in the ring, but actually, yeah, big man. House of Torture has brought something insane out of Show, and actually, I if he was a good wrestler, he would be the perfect person for me. Do you know what I mean? Unhinged, like in his own little loopy world.
But he's in House of Torture. He cannot be a good wrestler.
This is what I'm saying. If they'd taken this unhinged character, and in my head, the fantasy booking would have been like Jay White would have stayed in New Japan. Because remember, he came back as the Switchblade, and if anyone remembers his VCR, it was almost of him being like very weird with like the knife and stuff. In
He's a knife pervert.
Yeah, the knife pervert. He tried to make me buy a shirt once with that on it, but I'd already bought a Switchblade once, so I said I couldn't. But for example, if they put Show in like a heel faction that he wrestles, this character of Show would be actually very popular, especially probably among Western fans because it's so unhinged. It reminds me a bit of the Lunatic Fringe, of like you don't know what world Show is in. Like, is he in his own head? Is he on drugs? Is he on the drugs that Japan doesn't allow?
That's an interesting comparison.
Sorry, it's the only one I could think of someone who was literally in their own little world.
She brought up the Lunatic Fringe. Man,
I don't know where that came from.
So many years from that. Thank God. Anyways.
The Lunatic, you know what? Actually, Dean Ambrose, when I started watching wrestling when Dean Ambrose was like at the peak, like Intercontinental, the Lunatic Fringe was one of my favorite characters. This is what I mean. If Show was wrestling, that kind of character is really my style of character.
They took that character so far that he wrestled the match with a hot dog cart and ketchup and mustard. Man, leave that in the
when I started watching it, and that's when I went, this is the wrestler for me.
Anyways, but to get to the point here, IWGP Junior Tag Match. Looking forward to it. Always a good time to see the young punks from TMDK join forces and stuff like that. Be it Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. I'm still a fan of Doki. I think Doki's done so much work to reintegrate himself into New Japan and make himself a better wrestler and stuff like that. This whole him being a House of Torture thing. He does the hijinks because obviously he still uses his steel staff, baton, whatever you want to call it, and all that jazz. But he still wrestles good matches. So I'll give Doki that. I just don't know about. I just don't know about Show in all this stuff, man. Show's just lost me. He's lost the plot, as the young kids like to say, and I'm just not about it in that particular sense. You mentioned Ren Narita having a match against Zack Sabre Jr., right? At some point. Uh, and I don't necessarily know what we're going to get out of that match, if I'm being honest. Um, we know that we know that Ren Narita can be a good wrestler, but will we get that version of Ren Narita here?
When was the last time we saw? I can't even remember now.
It was the match with Zack in the first block match.
Yeah.
But that was good by Ren standards, like House of Torture Ren standard. I mean, generally.
Before that, the best match was the Gate match in the New Japan Cup.
They look, man. I think outside of bad booking, New Japan's timing with their talent is awful, completely awful. Why? Because if we're talking about Ren Narita, it's the same thing with Ren. Ren should have been the inaugural NJPW World TV Champion, and they did not go that route. Yes, Zack's run was great. It was great, but if you bring this kid back from excursion to give him something important to do, it's like they had it right there. They didn't go with it, and they went with the veteran anyways. And it's like now he's in the House of Torture, and people don't really care about him. So what's the point at this point? So it's like their timing is completely messed up here. I don't expect anything great out of that Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ren Narita match and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
All right, we've talked about it a bunch, so we'll give our final thoughts on the final of the G1 Climax 35 tournament. It was Evil from A Block versus Konosuke Takeshita from B Block. 3 minutes in, and I thought that the crowd was very much split. Some loud Takeshita chants, but some loud Evil chants as well. It takes 3 minutes in, and we get our first House of Torture interference, which they loudly booed. Takeshita was visibly hurt as they attacked his knee throughout the matchup. Takeshita flies in. He does a great looking dive onto a bunch of the House of Torture mates. You get Rocky Romero and a bunch of the Young Lions. They start escorting the House of Torture members to the back. Throughout the matchup, it looked like Evil was so close to hitting Everything is Evil, but you get Takeshita who reversed it every single time. He hits his new basically inverted Everything is Evil, which Takeshita becomes the first star to kick out of that move. You get Takeshita evading the Everything is Evil every single time. He hits an exploder. He then counters another Everything is Evil into a Everything is Alpha, says Walker Stewart. He gets a 2 count on that. He hits a big Blue Thunder Bomb for another close near fall. It looks like Evil's got the win. He does some spinning face busters for 2, and then follows up with another Darkness Scorpion, but Takeshita somehow, some way is able to make it to the ropes. We get Evil hits a low blow behind the referee's back, hits a huge lariat, but Takeshita kicks out to a loud ovation from this crowd. Takeshita counters the Everything is Evil into a backslide. He then hits one huge last ride power bomb. He goes for another knee, but Evil's able to catch it, so Takeshita hits him with the knockout world-class forearm, and then finally finishes things off with the Raging Fire for the victory. The second half of this matchup delivered big time, made this a tremendous main event, especially by Evil standards. This is the best Evil match maybe ever of the House of Torture era of Evil for sure. It went 26 and a half minutes. Konosuke Takeshita earns the right for a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He's still crying. He's crying throughout the celebration here. He starts his promo talking about achieving his dream and making dreams come true. He tells everyone who wants to become a pro wrestler he is the best pro wrestler there is, and he says that the wrestling world has seen nothing yet and declares himself the alpha once more. Like I said, great main event. This main event is in my top 5 for the whole tournament, because I was not as
Evil in it. Are you okay, SP?
I love this match. This match was so awesome for the second half of this matchup. You need the first half to appreciate the second half of this matchup so much. To catch the selling was on point. They hit the big sequences. You got some fire, some fighting spirit from Evil of all people. The best Evil match ever. I give it 4.25 stars. Sonal?
That's insane to me. I mean, I was good by Evil stand by. It's fine, SPC. I'll let you have it. Who was it said it? Genesis J. I was surprised about how loud the crowd was every time Evil was about to hit. I wanted to bring it up because I've noticed this every single show where there's a big vocal crowd. They go, everything is oh. It's probably the funniest thing ever. I think you're right in the sense that for this match to have been as good and as I guess for me as stressful as it was, which actually maybe is a good thing because it's like, oh, it's making you feel something. You needed the interference. I get it. And actually, I am very happy about that it happened. Because at first I was like, oh, within the first 2 minutes. But I get it now. After watching it, I get it that it had to have happened early to get rid of it early. Yes. And I like that they had the story of Rocky and the Young Lions doing it. But wait, Narita's not come out. So Narita came out. And for the first time ever, because remember, like, for some reason, even though unaffiliated came out with Tsuji, they didn't do anything, that the whole roster seems to forget that they can go out and do something. If they hate House of Torture that much, where are they? So the fact that Zack was literally like, fuck this, I am sick of this, I am doing it, I enjoyed that. So yeah, I think, would I say it's one of my favorite? No. But what I will say is that it opened a lot of eyes to that fact that Evil, when he wants to, he can. And actually, if you think back to when Evil was doing the tag team with Sonada in LIJ, he's not the best wrestler, but he can create emotions in it. Do you know what I mean? He has that thing. And
for sure.
Like we mentioned this, the funny thing was that they were chanting Evil, but as soon as House of Torture antics came, it was booing, which shows that while I won't pander to the rhetoric that Evil is extremely popular, everyone loves Evil, there is the thing that the hate that Evil gets is because of the House of Torture shenanigans. Yeah. And while I can't imagine seeing this Evil again for maybe another decade, I'm glad that we got it once and that Takeshita got. I also want to put a running thing because you mentioned that Takeshita was the first person to kick out of the reverse Everything is Evil. I also want to point out, because I know that there's some people who are shitting on Takeshita, that a lot of his matches is like he gets beaten down and then suddenly he makes a flash recovery, kicking out of moves that other people have not done. Again, I get the rhetoric, but people don't understand that New Japan are rightly keeping this rhetoric of Takeshita is not just the best in this company, he is one of the best in the world. So why should he? I mean, it's not like Evil uses the reverse Everything is Evil a lot of the time anyway. Like, hell, we don't see him wrestle properly a lot of the time.
To me, like, Takeshita winning the G1 is like, oh, it seems Gato knows how to push Takeshita more than TK. Because this is the push that I wanted for. I want him to win the Continental Classic in AEW. I want him to win the AEW World Championship. This is the level he's at. He's one of the best in the world, and this is the biggest thing that he's gotten so far in his career.
And the funny thing is, you're saying this, actually, when he was in DDT, he was still one of the best. He just didn't have that platform. Like, as someone who watched Takeshita for years, I remember, like, I used to joke he was the mini Okada. I apologize for that. Now, I know he is Takeshita, but obviously when I went from that, I was like trying to, when I'm speaking to other people about DDT, I try and make comparisons. And that's what I did, because Takeshita was the ace. And that's the thing, like, I know we all had Tsuji winning, but I remember months ago we were saying that Takeshita lost the Never Belt for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah. I'm the emotions that Takeshita had after, like, I don't care what you think about this AW New Japan party. You know my thoughts on this, right? And I understand that people, because he's not on the next tour and stuff, and I understand this, but you've got to remember he has 3 contracts. I was grateful that he could do this G1. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We'll see what goes from there, but the big takeout I want to take from this is that there's no point in pushing a specific agenda of, like, if you support Takeshita as the G1 winner, then you're sucking up to AEW. Because I am the last person who will ever do that. Right? I am the last person that will ever suck up to it. And yeah, I'm Big Man Dog. Yeah, I get it. There'll be a lot of Japanese who are upset because he's in New Japan part-time. But then there'll be a large majority of the Japanese fans who would have been annoyed that Evil won. I know there's someone who follows me, and she literally said, if Evil wins the G1, I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
I said I was going to quit my job at Fightful if Evil won the G1.
In an ideal world, we all, 99.99% of the world wanted Tsuji to win. Yep. Sadly, that didn't go the way. But if it's not going to be Tsuji, most of us probably had, like me, Takeshita in the final anyway. So
as long as if it's not Tsuji, anyone but Evil. That was my options.
That reminds me of back in the day when it used to be anyone but Taichi. When nobody liked Taichi. No. But I think, it was a very good match. The narrative was very good. I also like that even at the end when Takeshita won, he wasn't trying to change the narrative of like, I'm pure New Japan, I love New. He just said, this makes me the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah.
And I am going to help elevate New Japan. He's not, because the thing is, right, he could have easily been like a soppy baby face and stuff. But actually, while he was showcasing his authenticity to be like, here you hitting back. Now, here's me hitting back at the haters who say, I don't love New Japan. But in the same way, he wasn't going, well, this is me now saying New Japan. This is me saying that I don't deserve this for this and this reason. I deserve it because I am the best in the world. And I appreciate that. He wasn't coming across ingenuous. Everything that he said was true to him as a person, but also true to the alpha character, which I enjoyed.
J News, any extra thoughts, final thoughts on Takeshita beating Evil in the G1 Climax finals?
I thought it was great. I thought it was the best decision possible. As I have said for the last 2 years, he's one of the best in-ring wrestlers that there is. So for him to win, separate point for him to win this tournament makes all the sense in the world. If they were going to book it this way, I think we need to look at for those of us who watch AEW. I want to put this out there. I think we need to take a look at the grand scope of the storytelling here. We've been trying to get to that Takeshita versus Okada match. Takeshita won the G1. The next step is for Takeshita to win the Continental Classic and for him to then declare himself the best tournament wrestler on the planet. So then there, we can shift that narrative the way it needs to go, because Takeshita's on top right now. Not saying that Kazu's on his way out, but he needs some competition at the end of the day, and we can rile that up. Secondarily, and most importantly, New Japan, and I made this point on Friday when we did our stream then, SP3. I'll make this point again. New Japan lost me to watch this G1 right after Goto lost his championship. I became disinterested, right? And for all intents and purposes, I mentioned that because now we're going to go into a G1. Not a G1. We're going to go into a Wrestle Kingdom. And we're debating whether if it's more feasible for Takeshita to go into Wrestle Kingdom as champion or for Zack to go into Wrestle Kingdom as champion. We want Tsuji to be crowned eventually and all this. All of this would have been much more linear and easier if Goto would still been champion at this point. But,
no, I'm over that, honestly.
No, I get it.
It would have been more streamlined if the whole thing is you want to save the Tsuji and Takeshita match for Wrestle Kingdom, then have Tsuji win the G1 and have Takeshita win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. It's pretty simple. You have him win the block match. Zack could have beat him in the semifinals if you still want them to make it to the semifinals, and he still has a victory over Zack that he can call back to and get the title shot. Him beating Zack before Wrestle Kingdom and becoming champion, you don't need him to win the G1 to get there. You needed the G1 to build up Tsuji, and you didn't do that. You failed.
I agree with your point. My whole premise of mentioning Goto was because of how hot Goto was, how the crowd was behind him, how the houses were being sold out and things of that nature. I think at Wrestle Kingdom, it would have been a bigger moment, Goto still going into that as champ. But like you said, hindsight 2020 at the end of the day, we're where we are now. And Takeshita winning was the only option. if Evil would have won, who would it who would you have would you be continuing to watch SP3 if Evil would have won the
I don't know. I maybe I would do like short reviews, but wouldn't be talking about it like in depth like we did this one if Evil had won. If Evil had won, I would have been like, guys, it's been real. It's been a nice run that we've been on, but I don't know if I could continue doing this.
I feel like I would have taken another long-term hiatus, man. I'm glad Takeshita's where he's at this point. Much well deserved. Shout out to Takeshita for giving his wife some props during a post G1 win interview. Yuka doesn't get enough love out in the world, and she needs all the love she deserves at the end of the day. So shouts to her husband for that. And yeah, man, I just the G1 is the greatest wrestling tournament that there is. 2FK makes a point here. If he was pulling for Evil, Homegrown Dojo Supremacy gimmick, no outsider winning the beloved G1. We stopped that when Kojima won the G1 back in 2010. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
The best wrestler, the best wrestler on the planet needs to win the G1.
I feel like people are just forgetting the Kojima win.
Yeah,
you know
they didn't. They wasn't like that with Konosuke either. Konosuke won back to back.
Was the first outsider to ever win the G1.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the first time it would happen. It wasn't. It's not going to be the last time. At the end of the day,
like everyone was like, other people also bring up the fact like when Kenny won.
Yeah, Kenny, Konosuke, like those are both DDT. You would say they're homegrown.
Yeah.
There.
Also, Kenny's Guy Cookie Jin. He's a foreign.
Yeah.
Outsider as well.
So, nah.
I don't buy that outsider stuff. I don't buy it.
Me either. Not with Takeshita. He's got a contract. It counts. But we're gonna tell y'all. We're gonna break it all down. What was our match of the? Well, we won't do match of the night. We'll do match of the tournament, and we'll also give our top 5. MVP for I guess the show or the final bit of shows. LVP for the entire tournament, and thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. You do it in the chat as well for the final of the G1 Climax, and it'll be thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for the entire tournament. In 3, 2, 1. Wow, everybody, thumbs in the middle. Yeah, I'm going for the entire tournament. It's like a 6.5. And even though I love the Evil and Takeshita, that match being good had no dictatorship on the final outcome. Yeah, this is a 6.5 tournament. There was some good stuff. Wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. Sonal?
Yeah, again, it's like what I mentioned earlier. I'm looking at this like I guess like maybe a 7 because I'm looking at it of like the booking versus the matches separately. The matches themselves, aside from House of Torture, there were some amazing ones. It was just and again, I'm kind of person who can look at the things objectively. But again, while looking at storylines, I'm just like, the booking was weird. Well, how are you going to have Evil winning the block? And at some point, I was terrified that Ren Narita was going to win, like get to the semifinals of his. So they caused me too much stress to be any higher.
What about you, J News?
Yeah, man, I was in the middle myself, man. I think a 6.5 is good enough for me. I'll say this much. I think at this stage of my wrestling fandom, the good wrestling out of a G1 is expected, right?
Yeah.
Like the stories that come out of the G1 is really more or less what I pay more attention to, and being that a lot of them did, like some were interesting enough, but by majority there was a lack of narrative here. And then what they were trying to, with the whole thing with Evil, it just left a bad taste in my mouth at the end of the day. So regardless of whatever Japanese fans might feel or if how popular he might be, it just doesn't work because he doesn't wrestle to the maximum capacity of his abilities at the end of the day. So he doesn't even fall into that particular category. So the booking was bad. The narratives were all over the place. Good on the Boss Dog for making his comeback narrative. 1, good on Tai Chi for good storytelling. 2, good on Big Soups for winning the G1 at the end of the day. and still, now being crowned the best in the world at the end of the day. Some rehab for Shooter. And Yuya was, like we said, Yuya was a standout. So, outside of that, yeah.
Match of the tournament, I'll give my top 5. I would go 5. I'd probably put Takeshita. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna put Takeshita and Evil at 5.
No,
I want to. I want to so much.
No.
I want to so much.
I won't
can't
respect
tell you enough.
I won't
Zack Sabre Jr. versus ELP at number 5. Yeah, you bullied me. I'll do with that. Then we get I'll say Roye Uyawa versus Yuya Uemura at 4. 5, I say Shoto Umino versus Yota Tsuji. 2, I would go Zack. No, I go 3. I would go Takeshita versus Finley. Number 2, I would go Takeshita versus Sabre Jr. in the semifinals. And number 1, Takeshita versus Shingo in the block form. That was the best match of the tournament for me. Sonal?
I hate when you get me to rank stuff because I have a list, but none of them are ranked. So I'm just going to go my 5 favorite matches. I'm going to do a special shout out. This doesn't include, but a special shout out to Shingo versus ELP because it's not going to be for everyone because there was a bit of comedy in it, but I did appreciate that. My top 5, I've got a list because I was like, let me get it written down. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Takeshita in the semifinals. I really like that. Special shout out, and actually one of them, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Driller. I mentioned this earlier. I really liked that match. Uemura versus Uiwa, phenomenal. I think, was this at Korakuen as well? Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, anything at Korakuen instantly is amazing. I think it's great. I liked Taichi versus Uemura. I liked the idea, obviously, they're so close in that sense. And Uiwa versus Finley. They're very different ones, I know, but these are just like ones where I think, for example, like Uiwa this was huge. Uiwa beating David Finley. Like, I just thought it was a very good match, generally, for both of them.
There we go. J News.
I don't have a top 5. I'm going to give you the matches that stood out to me the most, which is only 3 of them, really, that I got to watch. I'll mention the semis between Zack and Takeshita. That's one. Special shout out and should be mentioned, and people forgot about it because he wasn't in the rest of the tournament. Takeshita versus Gabe. I thought we were going to go off to the races after that match, and everything came to.
It's all Gabe's fault. This is why.
Yes.
It's all Gabe's fault.
It all went to shit once Gabe got injured. So Takeshita versus Gabe, and I actually was able to go back and watch that Uemura match with Taichi. Man, Taichi with that emotion, bro. It's like he's reminding me of peak Tana at times. How much emotion he's getting out of the crowd, and how much he's pouring into these matches. So those 3 matches for me really, really stood out. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
And MVP for the final, of course, I got to give it to Konosuke Takeshita. LVP for the tournament, the House of Torture overall. Sonal?
I'm going to change it up. The latter half, I'm going to say Zack because he had a great match against Takeshita and then he got rid of Ren Narita. And LVP, yeah, House of Torture.
J News?
MVP for the finals is Takeshita for me. LVP for the tournament is the New Japan Pro Wrestling booking team. Every single last one of you guys involved. That's it.
Also a good choice there. We've made it to the end of our NJPW G1 Climax 35 coverage for this year and the final. Appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember to drop the thumbs up. That helps us out so much. And thank you to Sonal and J News as always. Sonal, you got plenty of great content covering the G1 Climax over on your channel. Let everybody know where they can follow you.
yeah, so you can follow me on the X at wrestling_chat. You can follow me, subscribe on YouTube at Sonal's Live. Yesterday, straight after the show, well, a few hours after, I posted my full tournament review. This week, I won't be there live, but I've got a video on Wednesday about Forbidden Door, sort of looking at the cards and things. And then, even though I'm not there live, either Sunday or Monday, I'll have a Forbidden Door review. So, yeah, I mainly cover New Japan, but sometimes you might get a sprinkle of AEW in there.
J News, let everybody know where they can follow you, good sir.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on the Instagram and on the Twitter machine. On the Twitter machine at JohnLYFNMG. On the Instagram _JONJY. You can see me back here, right here on True Heel Heat this coming Friday as we preview the upcoming event, AEW times New Japan's Forbidden Door without the Forbidden Door. So I'll be here. I'll be here on Friday with SP3 and whoever else is going to join us, because I'm not sure as to what the lineup is going to be. And also check me out on Sundays, Hip Ropes podcast. Me and the lovely Dolores break everything down. This Sunday, I will not be on the pod due to scheduling conflicts and things of that nature. So I'll be back in on the pod for the weekend of Clash at Paris and all that jazz. So, but yeah, be on the lookout for the preview for Forbidden Door on Friday.
Yes, sir. Join us for that. Join me tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, on a Rated Raw review, reviewing tonight's Monday Night Raw. Drop the thumbs up, comment down below. Let us know what you thought about the G1 Climax 35 tournament. Follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSB3 and follow the gang at True Hill Heat. For Sonal, for J News, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our NJPW G1 Climax 35 final review. We are signing off until next time.